Welcome to the video. Grab a snack or get cozy and enjoy the rest of the video. My family used to camp at a state park. Every night my friend and I would walk through the woods. We called this the ritual. This particular night, we decided to walk further into the woods than usual. We had flashlights. We liked to try and navigate through the woods with them turned off. We were about half a mile from the nearest campsite when we heard soft whispering behind us. Obviously, we hit the flashlights and spun around. Didn't see anything. So we kept walking and we hear it again. This time we stop and look around a bit before we decided to head back to our campsite. Then we see what's whispering. It's a lady crawling on the ground whispering just random words. She was wearing dark clothes and was covered in dirt. When she sees that we notice her, she stands up and declares that she is looking for her campsite. We ended up walking her back to the campground and tried helping her find her group. Turns out she was just super drunk high and got lost trying to find a bathroom. Her friends didn't even notice she was missing, and if we didn't go that far into the woods, she would have been lost all night. It was pretty creepy. Went camping in Ginnie Springs in Florida about 10 years ago, and sometime at night, I heard that sound you hear in movies, TV of a huge tree falling. Didn't think anything of it. About 10 minutes later, I started hearing lots of people talking outside my tent, so I got out and discovered the tree fell on someone's tent kind of close by and killed them. A helicopter had to come and airlift them out. I was camping in a valley by myself with no cell service. I stayed late on a trail and ran into a nice local dude as it was getting dark. He showed me a local camping spot close to the road and the river, but camouflaged. I had a fire, drank beer, and listened to my friend's comedy podcast. I was loud and visible. Because it was dark already, I decided to sleep in the back of my truck under my topper next to all of my gear, as opposed to setting up my tent. The next morning I made a fire, cracked a beer, and started making breakfast. Then I noticed that there is a man at the edge of my camp. He comes closer, but never looks directly at me. This dude looks homeless, has a long ratty beard, and has at least 100 plastic grocery bags tied all over his clothes. I comment about how nice the day is. No response from him. I offer him breakfast, nothing. He sort of paces around the perimeter of my camp. I offer him a beer, but he just turns around. The dude is just standing there back to me, wandering around. I'm realizing that there isn't going to be any good happenings. I had my bear spray and buck knife super close. I give him an ultimatum. Motherfucker, you are either going to acknowledge me or leave immediately. He ignores me. I grab the bear mace and walk a few steps towards him. He sulked away and I threw my shit in my truck and left that place right quick. I wonder if he had watched me during the night, and I thank my laziness for staying in my truck instead of a tent. Went camping with my friends back in high school. We hiked way out into the woods, mountains, and collapsed exhausted into our tents. Middle of the night, I hear something outside my tent. Then another something, and another, all around the tent. It sounded so much to me like something stalking up to our tent, surrounding it. I gathered my courage and looked out, shining my flashlight at not the pitch black darkness. All I could see in the dark was shining eyes looking back at me. Not little eyes or eyes close to the ground, but almost man height and large. Turned out it was a herd of deer. We like to hike 3 to 5 miles down a trailhead in deep Georgia. One night the temperature dropped into the low 20s, which is really rare for mid-fall. We got a solid fire going, and the heat mixed with a full belly put us all to sleep. I woke up to my buddy tapping my foot with a stick. I looked up at him, and he nodded toward the fire. There were 2 wild boar kicking up dirt around the dying fire. We didn't have any sort of weaponry, except a hand axe that was out of our reach. My friend and I laid there completely silent, watching these 2 for about an hour till the fire died completely down and they moved on. If you don't know, wild boars in Georgia are easily 150 pounds, pissed all the time, and prone to gore literally anything. We were really lucky we didn't spook them. I was out walking around the bush hunting for upland birds. I walked through a bit of a valley too as a shortcut to get to another area, when I came across a guy standing on the trail with an AR-15 at the ready position. Instantly, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up instinctively, knowing this wasn't a place I wanted to be. Trying my best to stay calm. "Hey, just out bird hunting, how are you doing?" "Fine." Long pause. "I'm hunting deer." Deer season wasn't open. AR-15s are not legal for deer, and he wasn't dressed for deer hunting. As a matter of fact, he looked homeless, hadn't changed his clothes or bathed, or shaved in several days, obviously, and looked emancipated. Think of the scariest 50-year-old meth addict you can think of, and put an AR-15 in his hands and you're probably close. "Do you know the best way for me to go to find some birds?" "Well, I imagine you might find some back the way you came." His voice got noticeably sharper with the "back the way you came," and I obviously took the hint. I don't know if there was a meth lab or what just down the trail, but I was certainly happy to leave. I reported the incident to the sheriff the next day, but I don't know that anything ever came of it. I live in a rural town surrounded by mountains and forests, so camping is almost a weekly event, even in winter. The one I can't shake is when me and a friend broke off from our group of other 16 to 19-year-olds to camp by a better fishing spot, about a mile away. We only brought one tent for the group, so we built a lean-to against a large boulder in a clearing. I couldn't sleep because I had the feeling something was watching us. I assumed it was a mountain lion, which isn't that big of a deal considering their behavior, so I threw some more logs on the fire. I looked up from the fire, and under the light of a full moon, there was a man standing at the edge of the clearing about 80 yards away. I was frozen, and couldn't take my eyes off him while he assumedly stared back. He walked off in the opposite direction after about a minute or two. I doubt he had any ill intentions, but I sat there holding my friend's 357 the whole night. Not exactly camping, but kind of. I lived in a very small town once when I worked from my laptop. Like population 200 small. I was in a small cabin in the woods, though next to the highway. One day I was walking my dog and heard 2 gunshots somewhere nearby. Didn't think much of it. It's a hunting area, and it's kind of redneck-like. The next day, or the day after, a truck pulls up. I don't even know anyone in this town, so it's weird, and I'm put off. Guy calls me over, says he's my neighbor. Asks if I heard the shots. I said yeah. He claims it was his neighbor taking pot shots at his house over a land dispute. Doesn't ask me to be a witness for him or anything, just if I heard. Okay, seems really odd to me. Never met this guy before, and when I say neighbor, I mean 500 m1 kilometers away out of sight. Guy sees my dog digging somewhere unimportant, and all of a sudden starts trying to tell her not to do that. Gets out, and she's iffy of him, says here watch, calls her over. Grabs her and tries to do the stupid fucking Cesar Chavez dominance, hold the dog on their back thing, for really no fucking reason. She starts yelping. I'm like, dude, stop. He asks me whether I have any guns myself. I say no. Says he is a great dog trainer. He asks me to go over and mow his lawn, and please ensure to bring your dog. In the strangest way, just like that. Please ensure you bring my dog's name. I can't describe it, but his mannerisms and the way he talked was just plain creepy, especially that line. He leaves soon after, and I'm thinking, fuck, I just told this guy, not only that I heard the gunshots, but that I'm unarmed here. How do I even know it was his neighbor like he claimed? And not in fact that this weird dude has shot someone at his home, and is trying to see who might have heard witnessed. I wouldn't go to his house, not a fucking chance. Horrible feeling. Then he kept showing up asking why. Calling and texting asking why I gave him my number before realizing how weird he was. Really adamant I go over there. Turns out the guy is a total alkie. Lost his wife, lost his job, lost everything. Very dangerous mental state. Nothing to lose. The small store owners in town explained the guy to me. He's apparently the most hated guy in the valley. Bad reputation. I'm now really freaked out. I found it very hard to sleep after that. Cabin in the woods, nobody nearby that would hear any commotion. Ample angles for the place to be approached from the woods, and just a can of bear spray and a knife. And the guy knows I have no guns. I would be kept up for hours listening at night for any movement outside, as it was dead silent there. One night, middle of the night, my dog starts to growl. Ben growls more. I don't hear anything, but it didn't matter. Every room in that cabin had a window but the bathroom. I just got up, grabbed the knife bear spray, and locked myself in that fucking bathroom for hours listening. I think I eventually fell asleep in there. I don't think I've ever felt that kind of dread. I just pictured this lunatic sneaking up with a shotgun to take me out, for maybe having heard him murder someone with a gun days earlier. Buck. It was just awful. I moved, but unfortunately the new landlords were equally creepy, and even started trying to steal my dog. Even though they had 3 literally, I heard them discussing it, how they had to make themselves the in crowd, so that she'd want to be with them, and hand-feeding her dog food when they thought I wasn't looking. Must have just been the small town thing. Totally strange people in that town for the most part. They went to market one morning. I packed all my shit into my uninsured van with no license and my pup and fucking bailed that town and never looked back. Good God, it was Hills Have Eyes shit, mates. I'm telling ya. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Here's another video for you to watch.